Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something pretty fundamental. The idea that great leadership, the kind that really lasts, it isn't mainly about your title or, how big your budget is. It's really about how you see things, how you perceive reality, spotting opportunities, understanding problems, seeing where things are headed in a way that maybe others just don't.
Yeah, and we're digging into this using some key ideas from Chris R. Villasis' book, Vision That Leads, Unlocking the Leader's Gift, a Vision Seeing What Others Cannot. Villasis comes at this from a really interesting angle. He's got, 25 years as a missionary pastor, but also as a strategist. So he's mixing this deep theological understanding with very practical, field-tested strategies.
Right. So our mission today, let's unpack his main argument. That leadership is, first off, a spiritual and perceptual thing, a way of seeing. The role, the position, that comes second. And we want to break down this four-step framework he offers. It's designed to take that unique perspective, that vision, and actually turn it into a strategy you can use, whether you're in a church, a business, wherever.
Exactly. And the core idea, it's pretty challenging right off the bat. Real leadership is about seeing reality through a specific lens. Villasis talks about God's perspective, which lets leaders spot possibilities that are invisible to others. So leadership doesn't kick off with getting the corner office or, being super charismatic. It starts with how you see, with perspective.
Okay, I get the power in that difference, but I guess the question for you listening, maybe you're running a tech startup or a nonprofit that isn't faith-based. Yeah. How does this idea of seeing through God's perspective translate? Is it just another way of saying like strategic foresight, or is there something genuinely different here?
That's a crucial point. Villasis would argue it's fundamentally different because it's not just something you generate yourself. He defines this vision as spiritual perception. He looks at the Hebrew word chazon, the Greek opsis. These words suggest something you receive, like a divine insight, a revealed truth about what's really going on or what's intended. It's not just optimism or something you wish were true. For a leader in any field, you could maybe think of it as like profound pattern recognition, deep insight, plus the courage to act on that pattern, even if the immediate numbers seem to say something else.
Okay, so it's less wishful thinking, more like received clarity on how things actually are. And the author grounds this in Proverbs 29.18, right? Where there is no vision, the people perish. So vision here isn't just a nice mission statement on the wall. It's the actual lens you use for every decision, for judging risks, for holding on to hope.
Precisely. And, why do so many leaders find this hard? Because our normal human way of seeing, it's often limited. We're looking through this kind of thick, obscuring fog.
Fog. Tell us more about that. What's creating it?
Well, Villasis names a few culprits. There's fear, obviously. Fear of failing. Fear of what people will say. There's short-termism. That constant pressure for quick results that blinds you to the long game. Cultural conformity, just doing things the way they've always been done and the way everyone else does them. And honestly, sometimes it's just plain old burnout, being tired. And when you're operating in that fog, cognitively, spiritually, the default is just playing it safe, sticking with the status quo, which means huge opportunities just sail right by.
Yeah, that really clarifies the gap between just managing and actually leading. It's like the difference between a ship captain who only uses old maps that's managing what's known versus one who can read the water, the wind, the feel of the air. They can sense where the current is really going. That deep perception, that's the edge. It gives you the confidence to maybe change course before everyone else even sees the need.
Absolutely. And to make that advantage real, to move it from just an idea to action, Villasis gives us this really tight, repeatable framework. It's 4 steps. See right arrow, discern right arrow, declare right way to deploy. This is how you structure vision-led leadership.
Okay, let's get practical then. If it starts with seeing, what does that actually involve? Step 1. See, perceive. The sources talk about practicing spiritual attention, which sounds like really asking, okay, what's going on here that I'm missing?
Yeah.
It seems to need humility and looking at both the hard data, the numbers, and really listening to the stories, the feelings, the narratives from people on the ground.
Right. And this brings us to a practical tool for you listening, the 48-hour site audit. Villasis suggests taking 2 workdays, just 2, and actively journaling 2 key things. 1, moments where you see the same problems cropping up again and again, but also 2, moments where you notice recurring hopes. Pay attention to where the energy consistently feels high in your team or your life and where it just feels drained.
That focus on recurring hopes is interesting. Usually problem solving is all about, documenting what's broken. Why is tracking the energy, the hope, just as important for this site thing?
Because often the true vision, the next step, aligns with the potential and passion that's already there, maybe just untapped. If your team keeps getting excited about some side project, even if it's not funded right now, that excitement, that hope, that's a huge clue, a signal about where the real energy for the mission lies. Vision should harness that existing momentum, not constantly be fighting against resistance. So that audit, it gives you the raw data for step 2.
Which is discern, interpret. Okay, so seeing gives you the raw inputs. Discernment is about making sense of it, testing that initial feeling or observation. You can't just run with a gut feeling, right? You need to
Well,
filter it, interpret it against some core principles.
that's exactly it. You test that insight. For Villasis, the ultimate test is Scripture. For any organization, it means checking it against your foundational charter, your non-negotiable values, the mission you agreed on when things were clearer. And critically, you absolutely need diverse input. Proverbs 11.14 talks about safety in many counselors. Getting different perspectives stops you from just confirming your own biases.
But how do you get that counsel without it just becoming a messy debate where everyone pushes their own agenda?
Good question. Structure is key. That's where the discernment table idea comes in. Get 3 to 5 trusted people together. Lay out the issue or opportunity you saw in your audit. Then, structure their feedback very clearly. Each person needs to offer 3 specific things about it. One core principle or text that applies, one practical implication if this is true, and one potential risk they see. This forces a more rounded, critical look at the vision's viability.
Okay, so you've seen something, you've tested it, refined it with others, now you have to communicate it. Step 3, declare, proclaim the vision. The sources really emphasize making it clear, not necessarily clever or fancy. Short enough people can actually remember it. Specific enough it guides what people do day to day.
And importantly, declared with a degree of vulnerability. The leader isn't issuing a decree from on high. It's more like an invitation. You're essentially saying, look, this is what I believe we're seeing. This is where I think we need to go. Come help shape this and make it happen. It's about co-ownership.
And to help make it super clear, Villasis offers this really useful template, the formula for a short vision statement. Can you remind us what that is?
Yeah, it's brilliant in its simplicity. Who we are, who we serve, what will be different when it starts. It's basically one sentence, but it packs in all the key strategic elements.
Give us that example again.
Sure. The book uses, we are a neighborhood church, that's who we are, serving disconnected families, who we serve, so that every child in our area knows they belong. It will be different within 3 years when it starts.
Yeah.
See how it includes accountability within 3 years. And a goal focused on transformation knows they belong, not just, say, increase attendance. It defines the impact.
That makes sense. Which leads right into the last and maybe toughest step, deploy, operationalize. Because vision without action is, well, it's just talk, isn't it? If the vision's real, it has to change how you operate.
Absolutely. Deployment starts with one concrete next step, something someone can actually do and finish within 30 days. That builds immediate belief and momentum. But deployment is also about scaling the vision. You need to design processes so that others learn how to see too. You're multiplying the capacity for vision across the organization.
And for that immediate action piece, you mentioned the 30-60-90 implementation exercise. How does that work for a leader trying to put this vision into action on Monday morning?
It forces immediate bite-sized accountability. For each 30-day block, you define one clear action step related to the vision. You assign one specific person to own it. And you define one clear way to measure if it got done or made progress. This stops the big vision from feeling overwhelming. If the 3-year vision is transformation for families, maybe the first 30-day action is just research and identify 3 potential program models for engaging disconnected families. It's doable, it's owned, it's measurable.
And this whole framework, see, discern, declare, deploy, you see it playing out in those biblical examples Villasis uses, right? Moses at the burning bush, that's see and declare. Nehemiah.
Nehemiah is a perfect example of the whole cycle. He saw the broken walls, literally went out at night to survey them. He discerned through prayer and planning, he declared the need to the community, and then he deployed them, organizing the work with incredible discipline.
And Paul, too, adapting his approach.
Right, Paul constantly deployed his strategy differently, depending on whether he was in a Greek city or a Roman one. Always adapting the how based on the context, but never wavering on the core vision, the what for. These leaders all combine that deep perception with serious practical discipline.
Okay, but let's tackle some pushback. When we talk about leadership, starting with this kind of personal seeing, doesn't that risk chaos, like undermining the org chart? How do you prevent everyone just running around saying, well, I have the true vision?
It's a fair concern. The safeguards are really in steps 2 and 4. discernment and deployment. If the seeing has been properly discerned, tested against core values, vetted by diverse counsel, it should actually align with the organization's purpose, not fight it. And crucially, Villasis emphasizes that while seeing might be distributed, the declaring and the ultimate responsibility for deploying still rests with the formal leader. There's a necessary tension there between gathering widespread insight and having centralized accountability for action.
Okay. What about the objection that this can sound, well, manipulative? Especially the declare part. If I'm casting this big, inspiring vision, how do I make sure I'm inviting people along, not just controlling them for my own goals?
The litmus test is pretty clear, I think.
Yeah.
Manipulation usually works through fear or by withholding information, controlling the narrative tightly. Biblical vision, or this idea of aligning around a shared purpose, it's an invitation to co-create something. So we ask, is disagreement allowed, even welcomed as part of discernment? Is the vision ultimately about serving some external need, or just about making my department bigger? If people feel respected, informed, and empowered, it's invitation, not manipulation.
I'm the classic one. This vision stuff is nice, but we need practical plans.
They're not opposed. They're partners. Vision answers why we're doing this and what the ultimate destination looks like. Plans answer how we're going to get there, the step-by-step route. You absolutely need plans.
Yeah.
But without vision, you could have the most efficient plan in the world, marching diligently in the completely wrong direction.
So, to keep this vision alive, it can't just be a one-off speech. The sources say it needs to be woven into the fabric of the organization, right? At the micro level.
Absolutely. It has to be part of the daily rhythm.
Hmm.
Philosophy suggests things like building it into hiring, asking candidates how they connect with the mission, how they see it playing out, into onboarding new team members, maybe a specific session focused on understanding the core vision and perspective, and definitely into regular team meetings, maybe a quick weekly vision checkpoint.
Yeah.
How does what we're working on this week connect back to that larger transformative goal?
And critically, this ability to see, it's not just for the top leader. It has to be taught, developed as a skill throughout the organization.
Yes, exactly. It's not some mystical gift only the founder has. You need to actively teach people how to spot that fog in their own thinking, how to do their own version of a site audit for their area, how to look at their context and derive strategic insights, maybe setting up peer groups where leaders practice sharing what they're seeing and get constructive feedback. That's how you build that capacity. You multiply the vision.
Okay, let's talk measurement. Because if this vision is about real transformation, not just activity, how do you measure that? We need to get past those vanity metrics, things that look good but don't mean much, like just counting heads.
Right. A healthy, transformative vision needs different kinds of indicators. Villasis points to two main types. First, relational indicators. Are you seeing more mentoring happening? Are people actually resolving conflicts better? Do you hear stories of reconciliation? Second, sustainability indicators. Are new leaders emerging from within? Is there better stewardship of resources, time, money, talent?
So the bottom line measure is always about the depth of impact. The real question has to be, is life genuinely measurably different for the people we exist to serve and for our own team because of what we do?
And that's the payoff Villasis offers the leader. Developing this inner capacity to see, to find purpose inside the problems, and then to move forward with real clarity and conviction, it shifts you from just fulfilling duties to truly leading with purpose.
It really sounds like a fundamental shift, moving from being driven by your position to being centered on purpose, from being limited by what's immediately visible to being, well, potentially unstoppable. And it starts with taking some small, concrete steps. So for you listening, here's your immediate action plan drawn straight from the source material. Tonight, just 10 minutes. Focus your attention. Try to write down one single sentence. What specific thing do you think you're seeing in your situation that maybe others are missing? Then this week, actually do the 48 hours site audit. Journal those recurring problems, yes, but really focus on those recurring hopes, those points of energy. And within the next 30 days, commit to running a small 30-day pilot project based on one clear, testable vision statement. Use that formula and define one way you'll measure progress in those 30 days.
And maybe here's a final thought to chew on, building on all this. If leadership really does start with a way of seeing, with receiving insight, what assumptions, what fears, what parts of that fog we talked about might be clouding your sight right now? And based on that, what's one small, low-risk step you could take, maybe even tomorrow, just to test a slightly different, more courageous perspective? Start right there, see what happens. The vision often follows the seeing.